Please do it slow. It's my first time with a black man. Japanese POW woman had her best night with a black soldier. The world exploded around me in a symphony of chaos. Dirt and debris rained down as American shells pounded our position on Saipan. My hands trembled as I gripped my rifle, crouching behind what remained of a concrete wall. The acrid smell of gunpowder filled my nostrils, mixing with the metallic tang of blood. "Hold the line," someone shouted in Japanese. But our defensive position was crumbling. American forces had outflanked us, their superior numbers and firepower overwhelming our depleted unit. I had trained for this moment, been taught that death was preferable to surrender. Yet as bullets whizzed past and my comrades fell one by one, the reality of war stripped away all the noble ideas I'd been fed about glorious sacrifice. A deafening explosion knocked me off my feet. My head slammed against the ground, and for a moment, everything went dark. When my vision cleared, the ringing in my ears made the world seem distant and unreal. I tried to stand but couldn't. Warm blood trickled down my leg from where shrapnel had torn through my uniform. Through the smoke, I saw them coming. American soldiers advanced through our positions, their imposing figures emerging like demons from the haze of battle. I had been taught they were monsters, barbarians who would torture and kill without mercy. My hands fumbled for my rifle, but it was gone, lost in the explosion. "Over here! We got survivors!" An American voice called out in English. Heavy boots approached as I tried to crawl away, but the pain in my leg made escape impossible. Rough hands grabbed me, and I waited for the end to come. But they didn't shoot. Instead, they began checking my wounds, speaking to each other in their harsh foreign tongue. I was hauled to my feet, my arms bound behind me. Through my dizziness, I saw other Japanese women, nurses and fighters like myself, being rounded up nearby. Some were crying, others stood in shocked silence. They marched us to the beach, where small boats waited to ferry us to larger ships anchored offshore. The reality of capture felt surreal. We had been taught that Americans took no prisoners, that they delighted in cruelty. Yet here they were, offering water to the wounded, helping those who couldn't walk. My mind refused to accept this strange contradiction. Surely this was just a prelude to something worse. The gentle treatment must be a trick, I told myself, even as a young American soldier carefully helped me into one of the boats. The journey to the transport ship passed in a blur of pain and confusion. They herded us below decks, down narrow corridors that reeked of oil and salt water. More than 20 of us were locked in a cramped compartment with only small porthole windows letting in weak light. In the darkness, I could hear the soft weeping of my fellow prisoners. The ship's metal hull groaned as waves crashed against it, and the floor swayed beneath us. I pressed myself into a corner, drawing my knees to my chest despite the pain in my leg. All my life, I had been taught to be strong, to never show weakness. But here, in this dark place between what I had believed and what I was experiencing, tears threatened to spill from my eyes. I bit my lip hard, trying to hold them back. "What will they do to us?" someone whispered in Japanese. No one answered. We were all lost in the same uncertain darkness, our futures as murky as the ocean that would carry us away from everything we had ever known. My legs shake as I step onto American soil for the first time. The ground feels wrong beneath my feet, too solid after weeks at sea. Around me, other women stumble down the gangplank, our small group blinking in the harsh California sunlight. Camp McCoy spreads out before us, vast and alien. High fences topped with razor wire stretch into the distance, but it's the openness that makes my heart race. After the cramped darkness of the ship's hold, there's too much sky, too much space. I want to shrink into myself, to disappear. The American soldiers line us up with practiced efficiency. Their movements are calm, almost gentle, nothing like the brutal enemies I was warned about. My hands tremble as I clutch my thin blanket closer, the only possession I managed to keep. The other women press close, seeking comfort in numbers. A white officer steps forward, speaking in clear Japanese through an interpreter. "You are now prisoners of war under the protection of the Geneva Conventions," he announces. "You will be treated humanely. You will receive food, medical care, and shelter. Violence or escape attempts will be punished, but you will not be harmed if you follow the rules." I struggle to process his words. This can't be right. Where are the torture chambers? The brutal interrogations? Everything I know about Americans tells me this must be a trick. They separate us into smaller groups for processing, My legs are weak from weeks at sea, and I stumble. A tall black soldier catches my arm before I fall. I freeze, terror coursing through me. I've never been this close to a black person before. "Easy there," he says in English, his voice surprisingly soft. "Let me help you." I stare at him, unable to reconcile his gentleness with everything I've been taught about Americans, especially black Americans. The propaganda posters painted them as savage beasts, but this soldier's eyes are kind as he steadies me. "I'm Private Miller," he continues, speaking slowly so I can understand. "You need water?" He offers me a canteen. My throat is desperately dry, but I hesitate. Is this a trick? Will he snatch it away? Mock me? But he simply holds it out, patient, until my thirst overcomes my fear. The water is cool and clean, the first fresh water I've had in weeks. "Food coming soon," he adds with a small smile. "Medical check first, then barracks." I can't speak, can't even nod. I just stare at him in confusion as he guides me toward a building where other women are being processed. Everything feels wrong. Where is the cruelty I was promised? The barbaric treatment we were warned about? Hours later, I sit on a thin mattress in the barracks, surrounded by other women but feeling utterly alone. My stomach is full for the first time in weeks. They fed us rice and vegetables, simple but filling. The barracks are clean, if sparse. We even received soap and fresh clothing. "It must be a trick," whispers the woman next to me in Japanese. "They're trying to fool us, make us lower our guard." I nod, but doubt gnaws at me. I keep seeing Private Miller's kind eyes, remembering the gentle way he helped me. If this is a trick, it's an elaborate one. My head aches with confusion as everything I thought I knew about our enemies crumbles in the face of their unexpected humanity. I pull my knees to my chest, trying to make sense of it all. Nothing here matches what I was taught to expect, and that terrifies me more than any cruelty could. Before you continue listening, please let me know where in the world are you watching from today. Now back to the story. I curl up on the hard cot, pulling the thin blanket around my shoulders. The springs creak beneath me, a foreign sound so different from the tatami mats of home. Around me, whispers flutter through the barracks like frightened birds. Some women sob quietly, others murmur prayers in Japanese. They must be planning something terrible. Someone whispers in the darkness. Why else would they treat us this way? I press my face against the rough pillow, trying to sort through my jumbled thoughts. The kindness we've been shown feels wrong, like a stone in my shoe that won't stop rubbing. Everything I know about Americans, everything I was taught, crashes against what I've seen today. The black soldier's face appears in my mind. Private Miller. I heard another soldier call him. His gentle hands as he helped me with the water, the soft tone of his voice. Nothing like the demons we were warned about. I shake my head, trying to clear the confusing thoughts. "Did you see how they gave us real food?" Another woman whispers. "Not scraps, but actual meals?" "It must be poison," comes the reply, "or they're fattening us up for something worse." Outside, boots crunch on gravel as guards patrol. Each footstep makes my heart jump, waiting for the moment when their true nature will reveal itself. But the steps just continue their steady rhythm, back and forth, protecting us rather than threatening. A cool breeze drifts through the barracks windows. They're not even boarded up, just metal bars and screens. We can see the stars if we stand up. The night air carries the scent of pine trees, and something else, something I've never smelled before. Maybe it's the ocean, or maybe it's just America itself. The camp commander's words echo in my head. "You will be treated according to the Geneva Conventions. You have rights here." Rights? Prisoners don't have rights. That's what we were taught. A prisoner's only right is to die with honor. My stomach growls, still digesting the evening meal. Simple food, but clean and filling. Back home, they told us American prisoners were starved, beaten, treated like animals. But here I am, with a full belly and an actual bed. "Listen," an older woman near me says suddenly. "They're changing guards." We all fall silent, straining to hear. There's quiet conversation outside, casual words exchanged in English. Then footsteps moving away, new ones approaching. No shouting, no threats, just normal. I roll onto my back, staring up at the wooden beams above me. The ceiling is solid, protecting us from the elements. Another kindness we didn't expect. My thoughts drift back to Private Miller again. The way he smiled, not mocking or cruel, but genuine. How he stepped back when he saw my fear, giving me space. Something inside me shifts, like ice breaking up on a frozen river. What if? What if everything we were told was wrong? What if the monsters we feared don't exist? The footsteps outside continue their steady patrol. For the first time since my capture, my heart doesn't race at the sound. Instead, I find myself listening to their rhythm, steady and sure, like a lullaby in boots and gravel. A new kind of fear creeps in, not of cruelty, but of kindness, because if they're not the demons we were taught to hate, then who are they? And more frightening still, who are we? The morning sun streams through the barracks window, waking me from a restless sleep. The sound of American boots on gravel draws closer, and my heart races as two female guards enter our quarters. They gesture for us to line up and follow them outside. I fall in line with the other women, our footsteps creating a soft rhythm as we march toward the camp's central square. The morning air is crisp, carrying the scent of pine, trees that surround the camp. It's so different from home. Everything here feels alien and uncertain. A tall, distinguished-looking officer stands before us. The guards inform us that this is Captain Thomas Cartwright, the camp commander. His presence commands attention, but there's something unexpected in his bearing, a calm dignity that catches me off guard. "Good morning," he says, his voice clear and steady. An interpreter translates his words into Japanese. "I am here to explain your rights under the Geneva Conventions." Rights? The word makes me blink in surprise. I exchange glances with Yuki, the woman next to me. Her confusion mirrors my own. Captain Cartwright continues, explaining that we will receive 3 meals daily, medical care when needed, and the opportunity to write letters home. Each point he makes feels like a stone dropping into still water, creating ripples of disbelief among us. "You are prisoners of war," he says, "but you will be treated with dignity and respect according to international law." My mind struggles to process his words. This isn't what we were told to expect. Where is the cruelty we were warned about? The barbaric treatment we were taught to fear? Suddenly, Keiko, an older woman from my barracks, steps forward. "Lies," she shouts in Japanese. "These are American tricks." I tense, expecting harsh retaliation. Instead, 2 guards calmly approach her. They speak softly, their hands open in a non-threatening gesture. The interpreter explains that outbursts won't be tolerated, but no punishment follows. Keiko returns to the line, trembling but unharmed. Throughout the briefing, I study the American soldiers. Their uniforms are neat, their postures professional. Some even offer small smiles when our eyes meet. I notice Private Miller among them, standing at attention but with that same gentleness I noticed yesterday. Everything I see contradicts what I was taught. In Japan, we learned that Americans were savages, brutal, creatures who would torture and humiliate us. Yet here they stand, explaining our rights, promising humane treatment. The disconnect between expectation and reality makes my head spin. Back in the barracks, I sit on my thin mattress, my mind a whirlpool of conflicting thoughts. Captain Cartwright's words echo in my head, treated with dignity and respect. I've been trained since childhood to hate these people, to see them as enemies who destroyed our cities and killed our people. But if they're the monsters we were told they were, why are they treating us this way? Why explain our rights? Why provide food and shelter when they could simply lock us away in darkness? My fingers trace the rough blanket on my bed. It's not much, but it's clean and warm. Even this small comfort seems to mock everything I believed about American brutality. I close my eyes, feeling the foundation of my convictions crack ever so slightly. Something is very wrong here. Not with the Americans, but with what I was taught to believe about them. I stand in the camp's makeshift kitchen, my hands trembling slightly as I carefully arrange the onigiri on the serving plate. A week has passed since we arrived at Camp McCoy, and now they want us to share our culture with them. The thought makes my stomach twist. These are our enemies, yet here we are, preparing food for them as if we were hosting honored guests. "You're doing it wrong," whispers Keiko beside me, reaching over to adjust the rice balls I've shaped. "They need to be more triangular." Her words snap me from my thoughts, and I realize I've been making them too round, my mind elsewhere. The kitchen is warm and humid from the steam of cooking rice. Several other Japanese women work alongside us, some making miso soup while others prepare simple pickled vegetables with what little we have. The Americans provided us with rice and some basic ingredients. Another unexpected kindness that doesn't fit with what we were told about them. Through the kitchen window, I can see American soldiers setting up tables in the yard. They seem excited, talking and laughing among themselves. It's strange to see them like this. So, human. I shake my head, trying to clear such thoughts. They are still the enemy, I remind myself firmly. When everything is ready, we carry our dishes to the tables outside. The evening air is cool on my skin, and lanterns have been strung up, casting a warm glow over everything. It reminds me painfully of festivals back home, before the war changed everything. As I arrange the onigiri on the serving table, I hear familiar footsteps approach. Without looking up, I know it's Sergeant Miller. I've learned to recognize his steady, measured stride over the past week. My heart beats faster, though I tell myself it's from anxiety. "This looks amazing," he says softly, gesturing at the food. His voice carries genuine appreciation, not the mockery I half expected. Would you tell me what these are called?" I hesitate, then point to the rice balls. "Onigiri," I say quietly, speaking English for the first time since arriving. "Rice, with salt inside." His face lights up with interest, and he asks more questions about how they're made. His genuine curiosity catches me off guard. I find myself explaining about the pickled plums we usually put inside, and how my mother taught me to make them perfectly triangular. As I speak, other soldiers gather around, listening respectfully. They try to pronounce onigiri, making me smile despite myself at their clumsy attempts. Some ask about the soup, the pickles, and I answer their questions hesitantly. Throughout the evening, I keep catching glimpses of Sergeant Miller. He moves among the other prisoners and soldiers, helping to translate when needed, always with that same gentle demeanor that confuses me so much. How can he be so kind when we are supposed to be enemies? As the cultural exchange draws to a close, I watch the soldiers leave, taking with them empty plates and warm words of thanks. My chest feels oddly tight, torn between what I was taught to believe and what I'm experiencing. The propaganda told us Americans were monsters, barbarians who would torture and kill us without mercy. But these men, especially Sergeant Miller, have shown nothing but respect and kindness. I gather the empty dishes, my hands moving automatically while my mind wrestles with these contradictions. Everything I thought I knew about Americans seems to be crumbling, and I'm not sure how to feel about that. I lay on my cot, the thin mattress doing little to cushion my troubled thoughts. The cultural exchange evening had left me feeling strange, like someone had pulled a thread loose from everything I believed in. My heart felt heavy, weighed down by confusion. The barracks were quiet except for the soft whispers of women trying to find sleep. I stared at the wooden beams above, remembering how Sergeant Miller had smiled when I explained the proper way to hold chopsticks. His genuine interest didn't match anything I'd been taught about American soldiers. "Tanaka-san?" A quiet voice interrupted my thoughts. It was Yuki, one of the younger women from my unit. She sat on the edge of my cot, her face tight with worry. "May I speak with you?" I nodded, sitting up to make room for her. "I don't understand what they're doing," she whispered in Japanese, her voice trembling. "Why are they being so nice? It must be a trick. They're trying to fool us into letting our guard down." My throat tightened. I should have agreed with her immediately. It would have been the loyal thing to do, but the words wouldn't come. I thought of the warm bowl of rice Sergeant Miller had brought me yesterday when I was too tired to walk to the mess hall. "Perhaps," I said carefully, but even to my own ears, the word lacked conviction. "They killed our brothers, our fathers," Yuki continued, her fingers twisting in her lap. "They dropped bombs on our homes. How can we sit here and eat their food, share our customs with them? It's wrong." I closed my eyes, remembering the battlefield on Saipan, the screams, the explosions, the smell of gunpowder and death. She was right. These were the same people who had brought such destruction. And yet, "I know," I said, but my voice shook. "But what choice do we have?" "We should resist," Yuki insisted. "Show them we're not weak." I looked at her young face, seeing the fierce pride of our nation reflected there. But something else stirred in my chest, a new feeling I couldn't name. "And what would that accomplish?" I asked softly. Yuki fell silent, and I had no answers to give her. The certainty I'd carried from Japan felt like sand slipping through my fingers. Who could I trust when I couldn't even trust my own thoughts anymore? Later, After Yuki returned to her own cot, I moved to the window. The night air was cool against my face as I watched the American soldiers in the distance. Their flashlights bobbed like fireflies as they made their rounds. One soldier helped another carry a heavy box, their movements casual and friendly. I pressed my hand against the glass, feeling its coolness against my palm. These men didn't move like the monsters we'd been warned about. They worked together, talked, laughed, just like our own soldiers had done. The realization made my chest ache. My reflection stared back at me from the window, a ghost-like image superimposed over the scene outside. I hardly recognized myself anymore. The dutiful daughter of Japan, who had left our shores, would never have questioned these things. But here I was, full of questions I dared not speak aloud. I stand at the edge of the makeshift dance floor, my hands clasped tightly in front of me. The camp's mess hall has been transformed with paper streamers and a few scattered decorations. It's nothing fancy, but somehow it makes the harsh reality of our imprisonment fade away, if only for a moment. The other women huddle in small groups, whispering among themselves. Some look excited, others terrified. I understand both feelings all too well. My own heart feels like it might burst from my chest at any moment. American soldiers mill about, their uniforms pressed and clean. They seem different tonight, less like guards and more like ordinary men. A small band, made up of both soldiers and prisoners, plays a mix of American and Japanese melodies. The sound fills the room with an unexpected warmth. I watch as a few brave souls take to the dance floor. A Japanese woman from my barracks accepts an invitation from a young soldier. They move awkwardly at first, but soon find their rhythm. I'm surprised by how natural it looks, how human. Would you like to dance? The voice startles me. I turn to find Sergeant Miller standing there, his hand extended toward me. His dark eyes are kind, as they always are. But there's something else there too, a gentleness that makes my breath catch. I hesitate, dancing with the enemy. What would my father think? What would Japan think? But Miller's hand remains steady, waiting patiently for my decision. I not good dancer. I manage in broken English. He smiles. That's okay. We'll go slow. Before I can stop myself, I place my hand in his. His fingers are warm and strong as they close around mine. He leads me onto the dance floor, and I feel dozens of eyes watching us, Japanese and American alike. Miller positions us carefully, maintaining a respectful distance. His right hand rests lightly on my waist, while his left holds my right hand. The touch sends an unexpected shiver through me. Just follow my lead, he says softly. We begin to move, and I'm surprised by how easily my feet follow his. The music wraps around us, a slow waltz that requires no translation. Miller guides me gently, his movements sure but never forceful. I find myself relaxing into the dance, my body naturally falling into step with his. The room seems to fade away until there's nothing but the music, the rhythm of our steps, and the steady presence of this man who defies everything I was taught to believe. Looking up at him, I see no hatred in his eyes, no sign of the monster I was told American soldiers would be. Instead, I see warmth, understanding, and something that looks remarkably like hope. The dance continues, and with each turn, each step, I feel something shifting inside me. The walls I've built, the prejudices I've carried, they don't crumble completely, but they crack. Just enough to let in a sliver of light, a whisper of possibility. When the song ends, Miller steps back and bows slightly. "Thank you for the dance," he says. I manage a small bow in return, my heart racing with emotions I can't quite name. Together, we walk toward the barracks, our footsteps falling in sync on the packed dirt path. Neither of us speaks, but the silence feels comfortable, almost peaceful. I watch Sergeant Miller as he stacks boxes in the supply room, his movements careful and precise. It's been 3 days since the dance, and something has shifted between us. The silence that once felt heavy with mistrust now feels comfortable, almost friendly. "Need help with those?" I ask in my broken English. The words still feel strange on my tongue, but I'm learning. He turns, a gentle smile crossing his face. "Sure, Miss Tanaka. These need to go to the kitchen." We work side by side, lifting boxes and arranging supplies. The routine has become familiar over the past weeks. At first, I kept my distance, but now I find myself looking forward to these moments. "Tell me about your home," he says softly, pausing to wipe sweat from his brow. What was it like before? Before war? I finish his sentence. The memory of Tokyo brings a lump to my throat. My father was officer, very strict, but kind man. We lived near cherry trees. In spring, pink petals everywhere. Miller nods, his eyes warm, with understanding. Must have been beautiful. Back in Louisiana, we had magnolia trees. Different kind of beauty, but just as special. Louisiana, I test the word. Is hard there? Being. I hesitate, unsure how to phrase it. Being black? He says it matter-of-factly. No bitterness in his voice. Yeah, it's hard. Segregation, discrimination, fancy words for plain old hatred. Even here in the army, I face it. Some of my fellow soldiers won't even eat at the same table as me. His words hit me hard. I think of the propaganda posters, the things we were taught about Americans, especially about Black Americans. Yet here he is, showing me more kindness than I ever expected from an enemy. Why you join army? I ask, genuinely curious. Miller sets down another box, his expression thoughtful. Wanted to prove something, I guess. Show that I love my country enough to fight for it, even when it doesn't always love me back. Sounds foolish, doesn't it? I shake my head. Not foolish. I understand duty, honor. I pause, struggling to express myself. But now I think maybe we all fight for wrong reasons. War makes enemies of people who might have been friends, he says quietly. The truth of his words strikes deep. I think of my father's teachings, the certainty with which he spoke of Japanese superiority. How different it all seems now. Talking with this man who should be my enemy but feels increasingly like a friend. Later, lying in my bunk, I stare at the ceiling, my mind full of our conversation. The other women's soft breathing fills the barracks, but I'm wide awake. Something warm and unfamiliar blooms in my chest. Not the sharp, rigid pride I was taught to feel, but something gentler. I think of Miller's stories about Louisiana, about facing hatred from his own countrymen. How strange that here, in a prisoner of war camp, I find myself understanding him better than I've ever understood the reasons for this war. The hatred I was taught to feel seems to dissolve a little more each day, replaced by something I never expected to find here. Understanding. Maybe, I think as sleep finally begins to claim me, this war isn't about the things we were told at all. Maybe it's just about fear, about not knowing each other's hearts. I stand at the large metal wash basin, my hands red and wrinkled from the hot water and harsh soap. The steady rhythm of scrubbing uniforms has become familiar over these past weeks at Camp McCoy. The late afternoon sun streams through the windows, casting long shadows across the cement floor of the laundry unit. The door creaks open, and I hear unfamiliar voices, women speaking Japanese in hushed, frightened tones. New prisoners. I keep my head down, focusing on my work, but their words reach me clearly. The guards at the other camp. They were monsters, one woman whispers. They wouldn't let us sleep, kept the lights on all night, screaming at us. We were lucky to be transferred, another adds. I heard, some camps don't even give proper food. My hands still in the soapy water. Their stories make my stomach clench. I think about my own arrival here, how I expected the worst, torture, starvation, abuse. Instead, I found structure, regular meals, and kindness. The memory of Sergeant Miller's gentle smile flashes through my mind. The new women shuffle past, their eyes downcast, bodies tense with fear. I recognize that posture. It's how I carried myself those first days. But now, be careful of the black one of them warns. I've heard terrible things. My grip tightens on the wet fabric in my hands. They don't know Miller. They don't understand. When my shift ends, instead of heading straight back to the barracks, I find myself walking toward Captain Cartwright's office. My heart pounds with each step. It's not proper for a prisoner to seek out the camp commander, but I need to understand. I knock softly on his door. Enter, comes his steady voice. Captain. Cartwright looks up from his paperwork, surprise flickering across his face. Miss Tanaka, is everything all right? Sir, I begin, my English careful and measured. The new prisoners. They speak of other camps. Bad treatment. I pause, gathering my thoughts. Why here? Different. He sets down his pen and considers me thoughtfully. The Geneva Conventions exist to protect prisoners of war, Miss Tanaka. They're not suggestions. They're rules that must be followed. Unfortunately, not everyone honors these agreements as they should. I think of the frightened women, their whispered stories of cruelty. But you do. Yes, he says firmly. Because it's right. War doesn't mean we stop being human. His words echo in my mind as I make my way back to the barracks. The setting sun paints the camp in shades of orange and purple, and I pause to watch the guards changing shifts. American soldiers, my supposed enemies, going about their duties with professional calm. In my cot that night, I lie awake, listening to the quiet breathing of the other women. The new prisoners are huddled together at the far end, still wary, still afraid. I want to tell them that it's different here, that they're safe, but I know they wouldn't believe me. Not yet. I close my eyes, remembering how certain I was of American cruelty, how wrong I had been. My certainty has crumbled like autumn leaves, replaced by something I never expected to find in a prison camp, doubt about everything I thought I knew. The morning sun barely peeks through the clouds as I line up with the other women for inspection. My fingers nervously smooth down my uniform, though I'm not sure why I still feel anxious. These inspections have become routine, lacking the terror I first felt weeks ago. Sergeant Miller appears at the front of our barracks, clipboard in hand. His presence has become familiar, almost comforting, but today seems different. After checking our ranks, he calls out, "Tanaka-san." My heart skips a beat. Have I done something wrong? But then I see what he's holding in his other hand. An envelope. A letter. My feet feel heavy as I walk forward. "Mail for you," he says softly, holding out the envelope. His dark eyes are kind, as always. My hands shake as I take it. The paper is thin, delicate, marked with Japanese characters I know so well, my family's writing. I hadn't dared hope their letters would reach me here, hadn't even been sure they knew where I was. "Thank you," I whisper in English, one of the few phrases I've mastered. As I begin to read, tears blur my vision. My mother's elegant handwriting tells me they're safe, that they pray for me daily. My younger sister has married. Father is ill but recovering. They don't mention the war directly. They can't, with censors reading every word. But I can feel their worry between the lines. Looking up to wipe my eyes, I catch Sergeant Miller's expression. He's staring at his clipboard, but there's something in his. A face I've never seen before, a deep sadness that makes him look older than his years. Without thinking, I ask, "Your family, they write to you?" His smile is strained. "Not as often as I'd like. Mail's slow getting to the colored troops." He pauses, then adds quietly, "My brother was killed in Europe last month. Found out 2 weeks ago. The news hits me like a physical blow. I've seen that same pain in so many faces back home. I am sorry." I manage in halting English. "War doesn't care what color you are or what side you're on," he says. "Takes from everyone just the same." We stand there in silence, the morning inspection forgotten. For the first time, I truly see him, not as an American, not as a soldier, but as someone who understands loss the same way I do. Someone who worries about family, who carries grief, who hopes for peace. "My father," I say slowly, choosing my words carefully. "He is sick. War makes everything harder." I touch the letter, even getting news. Miller nods. "My mama worries too much, sends letters every week, even though she knows they might not all get through. Says she can't sleep until she knows I'm safe." His voice grows softer. Guess mothers are the same everywhere. The truth of his words settles deep in my chest. I think of my mother's careful writing, of Miller's mama writing letter after letter, of all the mothers across the ocean waiting for word from their children. The war has torn us all apart, yet somehow, here in this moment, it's brought us together in understanding. Looking at Miller now, I can't see the enemy I was taught to hate. I see only another soul carrying the weight of war, missing family, hoping to make it home. I walk beside Sergeant Miller as we patrol the camp's perimeter. The afternoon sun casts long shadows across the dusty ground, and the barbed wire fence glints in the golden light. My footsteps match his steady pace, and I find comfort in the familiar rhythm we've developed over these past weeks. "Do you think this war will ever end?" I ask, breaking our comfortable silence. The question has been weighing on my mind, growing heavier with each passing day. Miller slows his stride, considering my words. "Everything ends eventually, Miss Tanaka," he says softly. His voice carries the warmth I've come to associate with our conversations. Even the darkest nights give way to dawn. I wrap my arms around myself, though the evening isn't cold. But how can you be sure? How can you keep fighting? The words tumble out before I can stop them. Your own people. They treat you. I trail off, embarrassed by my directness. Miller doesn't seem offended. Instead, he stops walking and turns to face me. His eyes hold a depth of understanding that makes my heart ache. I fight because I have to believe in something better, he says. I'm not just fighting against something, I'm fighting for something. What do you mean? I have children back home, he explains, reaching into his pocket and pulling out a worn photograph. In it, 2 small faces beam up at the camera. Every step I take, every patrol I walk, every day I serve, it's all for them. I want them to grow up in a world where they're judged by who they are, not what they look like or where they come from. His words strike something deep within me. I look at the photograph, at those innocent smiles, and feel tears prickling at the corners of my eyes. Even though people hear, I gesture vaguely, trying to find the right words, even though they don't treat you fairly, especially because of that, he says firmly. Change doesn't come easy, Miss Tanaka. Someone has to be willing to take those first steps, even when the path is hard. We resume our patrol, but my mind is racing. I think about all the hatred I carried when I first arrived, all the things I'd been taught about Americans, about black people. Yet here was this man, fighting for a future he might never see, believing in something better despite everything. Your children, I say softly. They're lucky to have a father like you. Miller's smile is gentle. We're all fighting our own battles, Miss Tanaka. Sometimes the hardest ones are right here. He taps his chest, over his heart. I nod, understanding exactly what he means. My own battle has been raging there since I arrived at Camp McCoy, as everything I thought I knew has been slowly stripped away. The sun is setting now, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. As we complete our patrol, I feel a profound gratitude toward this man who has shown me what true strength looks like. Not the strength of weapons or armies, but the strength to believe in something better, to fight for it even when the world gives you every reason not to. The war has taught me many things, but this lesson, about the power of hope and the strength of the human spirit, might be the most important of all. I sit at a corner table in the mess hall, mechanically wiping down the metal surface. The rhythmic motion helps quiet my racing thoughts, but I can't stop thinking about all the conversations I've had with Sergeant Miller. His kindness, his gentle way of speaking, the respect he shows everyone. It's so different from what I expected when I was first captured. 2 American soldiers walk past, their voices carrying in the nearly empty hall. I don't know how you do it, Jones, one says. Being nice to them after everything we've heard about what their side did. War makes monsters of everyone, the other soldier replies. But showing kindness? That's rare. Maybe that's what makes us different. Their words hit me hard, and I pause in my cleaning. They're right. Kindness is rare in war. I've seen so much hatred, so much anger. But here, in this camp, I've experienced something entirely different. Sergeant Miller enters the mess hall, and my heart does a peculiar flutter. He nods at me, that same gentle smile on his face that I've grown accustomed to. Seeing. We work together, cleaning tables and stacking chairs, falling into an easy rhythm. How are you holding up today, Miss Tanaka? He asks, his voice soft and caring. I struggle with the English words. I am thinking much. About what? I pause, considering how to express the turmoil in my heart. About kindness. Why American soldiers show kindness to Japanese prisoners. Miller sets down his cleaning rag and looks at me thoughtfully. Because it's the right thing to do. War doesn't mean we stop being human. His words echo in my mind as we continue working. I watch him from the corner of my eye, noting how he treats everyone with the same respect. Other soldiers, prisoners, even the camp cats that sometimes sneak in looking for scraps. It's becoming harder to hold on to the hatred I was taught to feel. As the sun begins to set, casting long shadows through the mess hall windows, we find ourselves alone. The quiet feels heavy with unspoken words. I gather my courage, needing to understand something that's been bothering me. Sergeant Miller, I say hesitantly, you believe in American way? Democracy? Freedom? He stops what he's doing and turns to face me fully. I can see him choosing his words carefully. What I believe in, he says slowly, is that every person deserves to be treated with dignity. That's not just an American idea. It's human. His answer makes my throat tight. It's so simple, yet it challenges everything I was raised to believe about Americans, about the enemy. In this moment, looking at this kind man who has shown me nothing but respect, I feel something shift inside me. A small spark of hope flickers to life. Hope that perhaps there's more to this world than the divisions and hatred we've been taught. I nod, unable to speak past the lump in my throat. Miller seems to understand, offering me a gentle smile before returning to his work. We continue cleaning in comfortable silence, but everything feels different now. The mess hall, the camp, even the war itself, it all looks changed through this new lens of understanding. I watch as soldiers and prisoners mingle in the makeshift dance hall, an unusual sight that still makes my heart flutter with uncertainty. The camp's recreation room has been transformed with paper decorations and simple refreshments. Music from a record player fills the air, and despite myself, I find my foot tapping to the gentle rhythm. Some of my fellow prisoners have already joined in, though many still huddle in small groups near the walls. I stand at the edge of the room, smoothing my plain dress nervously. The atmosphere feels different from the last dance, lighter somehow, as if we've all grown more comfortable with this strange arrangement. Through the crowd, I spot Sergeant Miller. He's speaking with another soldier, but his eyes meet mine across the room. My chest tightens as he excuses himself and walks over. I've grown used to his presence over these past weeks, but something about tonight feels different. "Would you care to dance?" he asks, extending his hand. His voice is gentle, carrying none of the authority he uses during his duties. I hesitate for just a moment before placing my hand in his. Miller leads me onto the dance floor with careful steps. His hand is warm against my waist, and he holds me at a respectful distance. We begin to move to the music, a slow melody I don't recognize but find soothing. "You seem more relaxed tonight," he observes quietly. I nod, surprising myself with a small smile. "The music is nice," I say in my careful English. We've had enough conversations now that the words come easier. As we dance, I notice how naturally Miller moves, how he guides me through the steps without pushing or rushing. His movements are deliberate, always checking my comfort with each turn. It reminds me of all our interactions, the way he slowly earned my trust through countless small kindnesses. The music swells, and I find myself relaxing further into the dance. For a moment, I forget about the war, about being a prisoner, about all the hatred I was taught to feel. In this moment, we're just two people sharing a dance, finding a pocket of peace in the midst of chaos. "Thank you," I whisper, though I'm not sure if I'm thanking him for the dance or for something deeper, for showing me that humanity can exist even between supposed enemies. Miller's eyes crinkle with understanding. "You're welcome, Miss Tanaka." When the song ends, we part naturally. The warmth of his hand lingers on my waist as I make my way back to the barracks. The night air is cool against my flushed cheeks, and my steps feel lighter than they have in months. In my narrow bed, I lie awake, replaying the dance in my mind. The gentle pressure of Miller's hand, the way he moved with such care, the peaceful rhythm we found together, it all seems to represent something larger than just a dance. For the first time since my capture, I feel truly at peace. The morning sun streams through the barracks window, but I can barely feel its warmth. My heart is heavy with thoughts of last night's dance, of Sergeant Miller's gentle touch, of the way my body relaxed into the music despite everything I was taught to believe. The other women in the barracks are already up, going about their morning routines, but their whispers feel like daggers aimed at my back. Yumi, who sleeps in the cot next to mine, won't meet my eyes. She saw me dancing with Miller last night, saw how close we were, and now her silence speaks volumes. The shame burns in my chest, not because I danced with him, but because I enjoyed it. "Traitor," someone whispers in Japanese as I pass. The word hits me like a physical blow. I keep my head down and hurry outside, seeking refuge in the morning air. Throughout the day, I try to focus on my assigned tasks in the laundry, but my mind keeps drifting. The steady rhythm of wringing out sheets reminds me of swaying to the music with Miller. How can something that felt so peaceful be wrong? I was raised to believe Americans were monsters, but Miller's kindness challenges everything I thought I knew. "How can you stand it?" Keiko confronts me during our afternoon break. Her voice trembles with anger. "They bomb our homes, kill our people, and you dance with them?" "They're not what we were told," I try to explain, my voice barely above a whisper. They treat us with respect. Respect? Keiko spits the word. It's all a trick. You're falling for their lies, Miyoko. Have you forgotten who you are? Her words echo in my head long after she storms away. The rest of the women working nearby pretend not to hear, but I can feel their judgment. The isolation wraps around me like a cold blanket. As evening approaches, I can't bear the weight of my thoughts anymore. I find myself walking toward the mess hall, knowing Miller will be there during his evening patrol. My heart pounds with each step. When I thank him, tears spring to my eyes before I can stop them. Why? I ask, my voice breaking. Why are you kind to me? I am your enemy. Everyone else sees me that way. Why don't you? Miller's dark eyes meet mine, filled with the same steady warmth I've come to know. He takes a moment before speaking, as if weighing his words carefully. Being enemies. That's just something they told us to be, he says softly. I've had enough of people telling me who to hate. Back home, folks hate me for the color of my skin. Here, I'm supposed to hate you because you're Japanese. But hate is taught, Miss Tanaka. Kindness? That's what makes us human. His words wash over me like a cleansing rain. I stand there, tears flowing freely now, understanding blooming in my heart. The walls I've built, the prejudices I've carried, they begin to crack and crumble. Later, lying on my cot, I stare at the ceiling, while the other women's whispers continue around me. But something has shifted inside me. The isolation doesn't feel as heavy anymore. For the first time since my capture, I feel like I'm starting to understand what peace really means. I feel increasingly distant from the other women in the barracks. Their whispers follow me like shadows, and their eyes narrow whenever I pass by. It's been weeks since I first arrived at Camp McCoy, and I'm no longer the same person who stepped off that transport ship, trembling with fear and hatred. This morning, as I fold my blanket, Yuki, one of the older prisoners, deliberately turns her back to me. Traitor, she mutters under her breath in Japanese. The word stings, but I straighten my shoulders and continue my task. I understand their anger. I used to share it. But my conversations with Sergeant Miller have shown me a different truth. During breakfast, I sit alone at the end of a long table. The other women cluster together, their heads bent in hushed conversation. I catch fragments of their words: shame, dishonor, weakness. My rice grows, cold as I push it around my bowl, feeling the weight of their judgment. You bring disgrace to Japan. Keiko, once my closest friend here, confronts me later near the laundry area, laughing with the enemy, dancing with them. Have you forgotten what they did to our people? I want to explain that it's not that simple, that the lines between friend and foe aren't as clear as we were taught. But the words stick in my throat. How can I make them understand when I'm still trying to understand it myself? Later that afternoon, I find myself alone with Sergeant Miller near the supply shed. The sun is setting, painting the camp in soft orange light. My eyes fill with tears I can no longer hold back. I don't know where I belong anymore. I confess, my English still halting but improving. My people, they hate me now, but I cannot hate like before, cannot pretend. Miller's face softens with understanding. He keeps a respectful distance, but his presence is comforting. War makes it easy to see everything in black and white, he says quietly. But truth is, most of life happens in the gray areas in between. The other women, I continue, wiping my eyes. They say I betray Japan, but when I see kindness in you, in others here, how can this be wrong? It's not wrong to see humanity in others, Miller responds. That's what makes us different from the hatred that started this war. His words settle over me like a warm blanket. Looking around the camp, I see American soldiers going about their duties. Some nod in greeting as they pass. These men, whom I was taught to fear and despise, have shown me more humanity than I ever expected. Walking back to the barracks, I feel lighter despite my isolation. The fence surrounding the camp no longer seems like just a barrier. It's become a space where old prejudices can fall away, where new understandings can grow. I may have lost the approval of my fellow prisoners, but I've gained something more valuable: the freedom to see beyond the boundaries of hate. The morning air feels different today. Whispers travel through the barracks like autumn leaves caught in a breeze. Japan has surrendered. My heart beats irregularly as I try to process what this means. Around me, women gather in small clusters, their voices hushed but urgent. Some weep quietly, others stare blankly at the walls. I sit on my cot, fingers tracing the rough wool of my blanket, wondering what comes next. Hours pass, and then it becomes official. Captain Cartwright's voice rings clear across the camp's speakers, confirming what we already knew in our hearts. Japan has surrendered. The war is over. I watch through the barracks window as some of the American soldiers embrace each other, their joy evident even from a distance. But I feel strangely removed from it all, as if I'm watching a scene play out in someone else's life. The other prisoners react differently than I expected. Many are celebrating, relief evident on their faces. They talk, excitedly about returning home, seeing their families again. But I remain quiet, lost in thought. These past months have changed me in ways I'm only beginning to understand. The hatred I arrived with has been replaced by something else, something I never expected to find in a prison camp. Miss Tanaka. A young soldier appears at the barracks entrance. Captain Cartwright would like to see you. I follow him across the compound, past groups of soldiers and prisoners mingling together in an atmosphere that feels surreal. The captain's office is cool and dim compared to the bright August sun outside. He gestures for me to sit, and I notice the kindness in his eyes hasn't changed. Miss Tanaka, Captain Cartwright begins. I wanted to inform you personally that arrangements are being made for your return to Japan. He pauses, studying my face. You'll be among the first group to leave. I nod, unable to find the right words. My throat feels tight with emotions I can't name. Your time? Here, he continues. I hope you know that we tried our best to treat you with dignity. You did, I say softly, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. More than that, you taught me something about humanity. The captain smiles, and for a moment, I see the weight of responsibility lift from his shoulders. War brings out the worst in people, he says. But sometimes, if we're fortunate, it can also bring out the best. Later, as evening approaches, I stand at the edge of the camp. The setting sun paints the sky in shades of orange and purple, colors that remind me of home. But home feels different now. Not just a place, but a state of mind I'll have to rediscover. I think about Sergeant Miller, about how his kindness broke through years of conditioning and hatred. I think about the other prisoners who still can't understand why I don't share their bitterness. Most of all, I think about how I've changed. The war took so much from all of us, but standing here now, I realize it also gave me something precious. The ability to see beyond the barriers of race and nationality, to recognize the humanity in those I once called enemy. The sun continues its descent, casting long shadows across the camp. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, but for now, I stand in this moment of peace, grateful for the understanding I've found in the most unexpected place. I hope you like this story. Please share what's your favorite part of the story, and where in the world you are watching from. Have a wonderful day.